Good afternoon. Before we begin our presentation, we'd like to acknowledge that we are gathered at the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations, who have been stewards of these lands since time immemorial. As we come together today for the Patient Voices Conference to discuss embedding patient voice in health, society, and education systems, it is essential that we also reflect on the historical and ongoing neglect and harm experienced by Indigenous communities within these very systems. Through our presentation, we hope to acknowledge these realities and contribute to conversations that move us toward more inclusive, respectful, and equitable care. Welcome to the Library of Lived Experience. This is a place to visit for individuals with neurodevelopmental disabilities, parents, caregivers, researchers, clinicians, and policymakers to connect and better understand the needs of those with lived experience. The purpose of this library is to elevate and empower the voices of lived and living experience. My name is Dan, and I, along with Jasmine, a co-founder of the library, will be guiding you on the tour of the Library of Lived Experience. Let's go. Let's start our tour of the library. It's all virtual, but based on the realities of the problems individuals with neurodevelopmental conditions and their families face in getting the best care. What are the gaps between needs and what the system provides? The gaps are identified through consultations with those having lived or living experience. Here you can find stories from people with neurodevelopmental conditions who share their experiences navigating everyday life and the systems around them, including education and healthcare, what problems they have faced, and ideas for solutions to those problems. You can visit the library with your phone or your laptop. We can engage with the community. We can help solve problems with education and learning. We can also help navigate problems with care, treatment, and diagnosis. I can seek answers to important questions I have. The library has a very cool tool to help me navigate. It's called Tapestry. At the center is the entrance to the library and how to use it. Each attached node is a topic of great interest to individuals with lived experience and their families.
The library is designed and driven by our leadership team, composed of individuals with lived experience of neurodevelopmental conditions. We also have an advisory group that helps guide the library's development. This group consists of researchers, clinicians, policymakers, and of course, individuals with lived experiences. Soon, we will engage working groups composed of people with lived experience of neurodevelopmental conditions and other experts. This group will work together to explore gaps in systems of care and education and develop solutions to address them.
Let's listen to some of these experiences. Here are my friends Rebecca, Shana, Sierra, and Cymbia. They are all people with lived experience of neurodevelopmental conditions, and they will be sharing their stories with you, which they have kindly contributed to the Library of Lived Experiences.
To go through each story, we'll be passing a talking stick. A talking stick is a symbolic tool used in many Indigenous communities to ensure respectful communication.
Here we go.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Bradley, and I am a proud Métis mom of 3. I am super passionate about advocating for the special needs community and was looking for projects to be a part of remotely as my youngest child is on the autism spectrum and I'm at home with him a lot. I've been a member of the Leadership Council for the last year plus, and I'm offering my lived experience to the Tapestry Project. I reside in Saanich on Vancouver Island and work part-time as an elderly care aide. Just like every parent in September, I had all the hopes in the world of my neurodivergent son having a positive experience for his first time attending a brick and mortar school. After all, I had spent 3 years advocating and corresponding with the school staff to ensure the correct supports would be in place for my child within the school setting. I hoped for my son to be welcomed, for him to feel safe in his school and cared for in an inclusive and autism-affirming manner. Since my son had been diagnosed with level 3 nonverbal autism at age 3, myself and my partner had been unable to return to work full-time due to our son's high care needs. If our son could be well supported in school and could settle into a nice routine, then maybe we ourselves could return to full-time work and be better able to support our family. On his first day, I could tell my son was very excited as he happily squealed in delight. I held Malcolm's hand and we both walked towards the large looming school ahead of us. The reality of my son's time at school was very different than what we had hoped for and envisioned. My son was matched with an older DEA worker that was meant to be trained in special, non-violent crisis intervention training. Unfortunately, she used a lot of physical means to manage my son and what she saw as his challenging behaviors. She was not offering autism-affirming care and looked down at my son's constant stimming, his way of managing his dysregulation in a stressful environment. My son was alienated from his peers in the school, and when he was brought into the classroom, all the other students were ushered over to one side, while my son was held by his worker in the corner, far from the other students. It was very sad to witness this lack of inclusion and obvious alienation of my sweet little boy who was so excited to attend this school and meet new friends. Unfortunately, we continued to witness on multiple occasions his support workers being physical with him when it was not needed for his own safety or theirs. As Malcolm is nonverbal, he cannot tell us what was happening each morning when he was at this school, but we had seen enough. After much thought and consideration, we made the difficult decision to withdraw Malcolm from his catchment brick and mortar public school for his own safety as we continued to see instances of lack of inclusion, alienation, and use of physical restraint being inflicted on my child. Once we made the difficult decision to withdraw our son from his local brick and mortar public catchment school up the hill from our house, we began the long process of finding support and resources. After 3 years of advocating, we were back at square one. We searched for advocacy and support online, and we accessed resources from the Library of Lived Experiences Tapestry tool, where I was able to read other parents' experiences, gain support, and access valuable peer-shared testimony. I would love to say there was an easy resolve to this situation and closure, but unfortunately, we are still in the process of advocating for my son to have the kind, inclusive care he deserves that will enable him to have a positive learning experience, whether it be in a brick and mortar school or in an online hybrid school program. I believe that neurodivergent children are slipping through the cracks and that more funding and training needs to be allocated towards ensuring that special needs kids are being well supported in school and have the ready access to the same quality education as their neurotypical peers.
Hello, my name is Shayna and I live in Kelowna, BC. I'm autistic and have ADHD, and I'm the Interior Regional Coordinator with Autism BC as well as an author. My 3 children and husband are also all autistic with ADHD. I have been working with the Library of Lived Experience for over 1 year now. My story is about my son, Damon. He was diagnosed with ADHD when he was 4 and autism at 5.5, after being told he wasn't autistic when he was 2.5. We always knew he was different from his peers. When he was in grade 1, we sent him and his sisters to a new school where arts was the focus. Each year, the school year concluded with a school play concluding the entire student body from kindergarten to grade 12. This first year post-COVID, there was no play, but in grades 2 and 3 there was. In grade 2, Damon participated successfully in the Lion King play and was excited for the grade 3 play. As the year went on in grade 3, Damon seemed to struggle. Because of this, we were asked to hire a private one-on-one education assistant for him. We did this to help him be better able to participate with his peers. It helped him a lot and things improved. As the school year went on, the class focused on activities around preparing for the big year-end play again. Without us being told, he was excluded from these activities. He was essentially taught that it was better not to try than to try and fail and then get excluded. About 1 month prior to the play, I finally found out he was simply not going to be in the play. He was devastated and his peers were confused. While they practiced at the theater, he sat in the wings alone on his iPad. When the performance happened, he had to watch the audience with us, and the look on his face broke my heart. After this horrible experience of deliberate exclusion, we left with his sisters for an inclusive school for autistic children. There, he has been able to be himself. He isn't forced to be someone he's not. His slow processing speed is accommodated rather than seen as something he needs to push through. He has made more friends than I really ever thought he could, and he has grown so much. He has been able to be his authentic self and not had to feel like he doesn't belong.
Hi, my name's Sierra. I'm from Vernon, BC, a graduate of Okanagan College, and I'm also a trans guy. I work in social media and communications, and I'm the co-chair of the National Youth Advocacy Council with the Childbright Network. I was diagnosed as autistic when I was 14, and I was the only atypical kid in my class. I didn't say it at the time, but I was deeply lonely, and I struggled to make friends or connect with my peers. I was in a very sheltered environment, and despite my parents' and teachers' guidance, they didn't understand how my mind worked. And honestly, I didn't either. I never knew how to maintain friendships because no one taught me how. I could befriend my classmates and they were friendly with me, but no one ever truly clicked. I went to a small school, so my social circles were limited. I really wanted to be social and find people I vibed with, but I never had a chance to until I went to Montreal. It was my first trip out my own, and I had a host to teach me the ropes. But I was free to explore a big city by myself for the first time. I was able to find a group of friends there who were atypical, atheistic, and agender, and they were also cool, caring, and creative. We even had favorite superheroes and YouTubers in common. I've formed bonds with them that carry on even after I moved back to my hometown. I'm glad I had such close friends because I struggled living by myself more than I ever thought. I was trudging along with low energy and no motivation. Despite working for an autistic-friendly team, they felt I was being obtuse because I couldn't work by myself. I tried describing this to my doctor, but they had old assumptions about autism and didn't refer me to a psychiatrist. This was when knowing other atypical people my age was a blessing. I had people who I could relate to and contrast my life with. Seeing how different my friends with autism and or ADHD were, I realized I wasn't just autistic, but something else as well. I got a different doctor who finally got me a psych referral, and I got the answer. I also had ADHD this whole time. I wouldn't have known if I didn't have that community. Now I can figure out where exactly I want to go in life because I have so much more energy.
My given name is Symbia Barnaby. My traditional name is Kuka Jung. I am an Indigenous woman of Haida and Mi'kmaq belonging in descent. I'm a mom to 6 children with neurodevelopmental support needs. I've worked as a nurse, as a community inclusion advocate, and most recently as an Indigenous practice advisor for a provincial nonprofit that supports people with disabilities throughout their lifespan. I started my career within the disability sector nearly a decade ago when I began speaking to the barriers that we as Indigenous people face when we're setting up support services for our family members with disabilities. Frequently, we endure these barriers unnoticed. Things like distance, availability, affordability, racism, and colonialism. Oftentimes, these barriers are so tough to overcome that our family members go unsupported. It was imperative for me to use my voice and speak up when it came to naming these barriers. The community living movement was started and championed greatly by white, middle-aged women. Their primary goal was deinstitutionalization and to advocate for their children to live at home, attend school, have friends, and be welcome in their communities. They did amazing work at shedding light on the mistreatment of their family members that were institutionalized, and when it came to spelling out what true community inclusion looks like. There were, however, some voices that were missing from this movement. Historically, Indigenous people, people of color, immigrants, newcomers, and LGBTQIA2S+ voices were also not a part of the conversation. As a result, our family found it super important to tell our story. We befriended a filmmaker and created a documentary called Healing Nation to share our lived experiences. The film examines how our family has been impacted by intergenerational trauma and about the normalization of removing Indigenous children from their families and communities throughout time. It was a powerful experience to share our story in a way that honored our point of view and gave us a way to teach care teams about how Indigenous people with disabilities could be impacted by the systems that they have to navigate in order to get care. I want to share a short clip of the film so you can experience the power of storytelling firsthand.
They punish you for coming forward, but you see people say all the time, oh, you shouldn't stay in abusive relationships. Why are you staying in an abusive relationship? Why don't you just leave? You know, makes for a kind of confusing situation because you're like, okay, I want to leave, but where am I going to go? I don't have no place to go. I don't have no money. And then if I tell anybody my story about what I've experienced, then I'm going to get my kids taken away.
When you're fed all that information about who the ministry is while you're growing up, you know who they are. You know how powerful it is. They can go into a home and take a child away. How powerful is that? They have more say over what happens to your children than you do.
Because heaven forbid we know what we're doing with our own children, right? Or our own communities. That's a hard one to swallow some days.
And then you live in fear after a while. You're scared to do things, even when you get older. You think you're stupid, you think you don't belong. And then, but where do you hear that from? Where did he hear that from?
One of my big questions was to him. I said, are you going to beat me like my dad beats my mom? And he said, no, he would not do that.
I didn't have to be drunk. I didn't have to be stoned to be very violent and abusive and dangerous.
When I look at the context of our story and our experience, it's saying goodbye and cutting the ties to the orientation towards trauma and fear and sadness and pain, and moving towards a place of healing and a new life with me and my children.
We want
Don't carry your names out of here until you yourselves are ready. Take your stories out and share and help other people. Hopefully not make the same mistake like I did.
Thank you for listening to our stories. We plan to continue to grow the Library of Lived Experience as we have just gotten started, and we would love to engage your ideas and creativity. Watch us grow. Join us at the Library of Lived Experiences, which you can access following this link and the following QR code. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation.